guys leaving? Guys, how many Egyptians do we have in the house? Awesome. So for Rashad, what about your first experience in Alexandria? Well, you see, Egyptians are laughing about that because there's been an incident that happened when, what was the name of the actor?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Leonardo DiCaprio, when he won the Oscars. So, something happened. Well, but this is, again, talking about data, which I'm going to be talking about right now. It's about figuring out, thanks, buddy. Yeah, it's about figuring out what kind of data we have access to and how can brands and people jump on it. And where you can get to figure out whether something, people will accept it or not accept it, whether people will react to it or not react to it. We'll talk more in details now until the presentation is ready, but let me give you just a little bit of, first of all, Rashad, what you presented is awesome, and my presentation is actually going to be complementing yours, and I would like us to debate about, the topic from that. I personally come from traditional advertising, so I worked in companies like JWT and Leo Burnett, and then I decided to move to client side, and then I jumped on the digital bandwagon. Facebook is king in Egypt. I mean, you guys love Facebook more than ever. It's actually amazing. I'm married to an Egyptian lady, and when we got married, I was asking her about printing the invitation cards, and she's like, no, why that? Just do a Facebook event invitation and send it out. Sorry? Exactly, so green. It was actually, for me, it was very surprising how things go on over here. So I'm still learning. So I work in an agency called Hug Digital. It has an office in Cairo, and the headquarters is in Dubai. And lately, and I like a lot what you said, sorry, your name? Farah, about entrepreneurs. Lately, the term entrepreneurs has been, I think, milked in this part of the region. Everybody suddenly wants to become an entrepreneur without them really realizing what entrepreneurship really means. Suddenly, I see, people by the age of 20 years old, and I tell them, what are you doing? He's like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a CEO of a company. It's nice. It's interesting. But I think they need to still understand a little bit more about what do we mean by entrepreneurship. So anyways, Hug Digital is an agency which opened 6 years ago. And we deal with everything relating to digital, be it social media, digital marketing, apps, websites, anything of that sort. And social media, of course, which in this part of the region is extremely booming. And we decided that, great, we're doing community management, we're opening Facebook pages, we're opening Twitter handles and all of this and all of that. But we really need to go beyond that. We really need to start understanding what people are talking about. The Arab Spring, which took part in the Arab world, has it really been, a real Arab Spring or anything beyond that? So what I'm trying to say is that data is available to everybody out there. It's about how you look at it versus how I look at it. It's about how we dissect the data that's out there and how we can get the best insights from it. Whether to help people, whether to help brands, whether to help companies, anything of that sort. Are we ready, guys, or we still need time? Sure, no worries. Has any of you heard of Hug Digital by any chance? Anybody heard of Hug Digital, the agency? Hug as in اديني عبطة باللبناني عبطة بالمصري حضن. Anybody of you has ever heard of it? Yeah, yes, great. We work with brands such as Amar Masr, such as Porto Cairo Mall, such as Galaxy, part of Mars Group, such as Saha, 500, such as Pathfinder, Hype Energy. Your market is quite growing a lot, so which is super interesting. And I think it needs to be taken to the next level because the amount of conversations happening in the Egyptian market is really fascinating. By next step, as in, unfortunately, there's a lot of conversations happening in Egypt online. But when you look, it's not about quantity as much as it should be about quality. The quality is unfortunately mostly about either politics or religion. I think, while I agree with you, it's still a long way. Looking at the conversations in Egyptian market versus in the Gulf or in the Levant region, or no, I would say Levant region is very similar to Egypt. But looking at it in the Gulf, because there's a lot of restrictions in the Gulf about what you can talk and you can't talk online, I think the conversation has shifted more towards, be it from a business point of view, be it from a CSR point of view, be it anything of that sort. Versus here, it's still mostly dominated by edutainment, or I would say focus more on the entertainment rather than the edutainment. So it's still a long way to go. It's quite interesting how you find masalan, brands like Amar Masr, where you're talking Egyptian market, 99% of the people prefer Arabic than English. But Amar Masr goes with English on their Facebook pages. Why? Because they are differentiating in terms of targeting. Who are they exactly targeting? They're targeting the A class, who they know they want them to be, English speakers and this and that, versus going to brands, for instance, when Galaxy did the competition about, you buy the bar of chocolate and you can win $10,000 worth of jewelry. They went hardcore Arabic, Egyptian Arabic. Absolutely, 100%. But again, are you looking at the comments that any single post is getting? And this is where I'm talking about. The level of conversation that's happening is insane. I'm in Dubai, and whenever we open any Facebook page for any brand, the #1 fans of that page are from Egypt. Exactly. And this is a major challenge, but this is a major challenge for a lot of brands, because they're like, why do we have #1 fans from Egypt, even though our brand is not based in Egypt? #2 is, how can we start limiting the amount of comments that we're getting on our posts from Egyptians? And I'm being totally honest with you. So this is where, it was a very interesting exercise. We did it for one of our clients, because we started working a lot on the content, or I'm talking about from a visual and from a message point of view, to try as much as possible to limit Arabic comments. I'm not going to say only from Egyptians, because you have a lot of other, but mostly it was from Egyptians. And it actually worked. It has been, a work in progress. But, guys, we're done? Perfect. And how do we, up and down? Okay, great. Usually when I'm doing presentation, I don't like talking about the company I'm working in, but the topic is quite relevant to what we're doing. So we opened in 2010, and lately you would hear a lot of agencies saying we're a digital agency, and what they end up doing is either apps or website development or social media or community management. We went into that industry and we decided that we want to be 100% focusing on digital and everything that comes under digital. So we kept, running on a speed mode of innovating in terms of our offerings. 2011, we opened a content. Why? Because we've been noticing that a lot of brands are actually doing a TV commercial and putting that TV commercial on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all of that, whereas such things don't work. Before, it used to be TV, radio, print, outdoor, and that's it. Now you've got, in addition to those, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and so on and so forth. So you need to you need to tailor the content that you have for the channel and for the audience. 2012, we opened a media department. If you deal with a lot of traditional media agencies, unfortunately, the targeting, and where we were talking about that, Rashad, traditional media agencies unfortunately make their money from traditional mediums, TV, radio, outdoor. They don't really make money out of digital and online, because there are no barter deals and all of that. So targeting for them is the least important. And that's why we opened a media department solely targeting such things. 2013, we opened a social department, and you'll get to see in details what this department does. 2014, we opened in your market, Egypt. 2015, influence marketing, again, a new channel, Rashad, which is quite interesting for you to take a look at in this part of the region. A lot of brands are actually going and working with influencers because they realize that they're reaching their audience much faster through those influencers rather than on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. They're doing the same thing. Yeah. 2015, we opened in India, in Trivandrum, and 2016, we opened a research department, which I'm going to talk about now. We just launched 4 months ago a new research department. See, it's estimated that social media users will exceed 2.2 billion in 2016. Everyone is talking, but who's listening and who's analyzing what's actually happening out there? All of you are on Facebook, mainly, and then you've got the Twitter, the Instagram, and all of that. And I'm quite interested to see if Techne Summit is going to be trending in Egypt or not today. It's all about data capturing. So when looking at all, be it forums, be it news, be it anything of that sort, especially with Facebook and Instagram having their APIs quite locked, so, which means that you can't really access the information that's being spread on Facebook and Instagram. Now, Facebook is being more lenient versus Instagram, which is quite hard to really understand what's going on there. But it's all about looking at what topics are people talking about based on industries. How much engagement is actually happening? The reach of any message that's being sent out there. The number of messages that brands and people are either broadcasting or getting. Sentiment. We have a major issue in this part of the region. I'm Lebanese, and for me, taking a step forward means fashkha. While in Egypt, the word fashkha means something completely different. So sentiment is super important to get to understand what it means. Mentions. Who's actually mentioning brands versus mentioning products versus mentioning, so many subcategories? Share of voice. How much is each brand really getting a share of voice of the people? اليوم السابع, after what happened with What About, actually got a lot of mentions. Was it positive or negative? To be very honest with you, it was extremely positive. Why? Because people followed it. And the week after that, they put that, what's her name, the singer who died from drugs? Sorry, Amy Whitehouse. They put that Amy Whitehouse is still alive. Again, so sort of, I felt that they're moving into the BuzzFeed sort of things, and getting news, whether correct or not. And finally, conversations. What are people talking about? We really need to dig into that, and this is what we do. How do we do that? We've created a center which got about 25 people from different nationalities. We have 9 nationalities so far from the Arab world, be it Saudi, be it Kuwaiti. And they're going through the conversation on and on. We have one in Dubai and we have one in Cairo. So we start analyzing the buzz about a category or about an industry. We start finding the triggers or the barriers, what's exactly triggering those people. And finally, we assess what's the satisfaction coming out of those, be it for the brands or the consumers. And how do we do that? We've created this command center, which, guys, can you click play? Yeah. This command center is a real-life command center, which is made out of 8 screens, and it shows you second by second what's happening in each market of the Middle East, North Africa region. You get to know what people are talking about, what triggered them to talk about that subject, and it gives us an opportunity to see how brands can jump on a real-time opportunity. So let's take a look. The screen on the top left-hand side, it shows you how your brand is performing versus its competitors, second by second. Whether people are liking it, are disliking it, are following it, are not following it. Second one, we tied up with Google in the MENA region, where we started getting what people are searching for online. Again, there's a delay of 1 hour because of unfortunately, they hide anything relating to politics and to religion. But at least we get the sentiment out of this. We've got those screens, which we call noisiness screens. Noisiness screens give you, from a macro level, what's happening in the market. Which brand is performing better than the other? An interesting discovery. You want your brand to do way better than anybody else, organically, without putting any money? Put a promotion or put a competition, and you'll find it going extremely high. Unfortunately, people want to be entertained in any way possible. Those two screens, Ramadan is coming, correct or not? Everybody tells you in Ramadan, حط الهلال, put the hilal, the moon, or put a sheep, and start communicating. But what are people really talking about during Ramadan? Those two screens gives you from all over the world what people are talking about Ramadan. It gives you insights as to what a brand should be talking about and what points they should be highlighting. Sorry? It's a platform developed by us. It monitors everything on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the blogs. It's a proprietary tool, yeah. It monitors it in Arabic and in English, and all over the world, and with focus on the MENA region. And it goes from the MENA region based on industries: aviation, banking, automotive, fast food, food and beverage, anything of that sort. We've worked for 8 months to develop that. There's still a long way to go, but it's working perfectly for us right now. But what's interesting is the end objective behind this is to let brands own real-time marketing. You all remember during the Super Bowl when it took place, and Oreo made its famous post about you can still dunk in the dark. So brands want to jump on real-time opportunities and want to become the talk of people. How can they do that? By really monitoring what's happening out there. Second of all, we want to try to understand when certain occasions are happening, be it Ramadan, be it any Eid, be it Hajj. How can brands leverage on that? What should brands talk about? Everybody is looking at innovating. Think about it in that way. The MENA region is a baby boomers market, or what we call millennials. 60% of the population, this is according to the latest report from UNDP, 60% of the population in the Middle East, this generation, nobody's talking to them. Not a single brand is talking to them. If you take a look at Pepsi, the campaign which they did last Ramadan, it was a beautiful TV commercial. But who was it targeting? You guys or your parents? Exactly. So what about you guys? What happened to you guys? Vodafone is jumping on that. So Vodafone, for instance, when they reached 2 million fans on Facebook, instead of just putting a post and saying, we reached 2 million and thank you, they've done a beautiful video. I don't know if you've seen it, but they actually asked their fans to, they worked with the band of, what's his name, Dr. Yusuf, what's his name? Bassem Youssef. So they worked with the band of Dr. Bassem Youssef, and they asked them to actually create a song for them. And then they sent the lyrics to their fans by messages, to the most engaging fans on their pages. And they asked them, can you please record it, parts of it, and send it back to us? And they did that video. Beautiful video, made out of 2 minutes, which actually made their fans much more appreciative of what they've done. So on a daily basis, what do? We start monitoring what news is coming out from a local market, regional market, and international market. And we see what's relevant to the brands that we handle in the agency. And we send them that report, which tells them, guys, there's this topic coming out. We think you need to jump on it, and we think you will become the talk of the people around it. Very similar to what about your first experience, which Volkswagen in Saudi did a beautiful post about it. So how has this been beneficial to us? We've seen increases in a beautiful way for the brands. Time spent on their online assets, be it Facebook, be it Twitter, has increased, engagement has increased, and shares has increased. At the end of the day, remember one thing, guys. Brands don't want to interrupt you from what you're doing. Brands want to become part of what you're doing. Because the second they interrupt you, the second you're going to leave them alone and go somewhere else. So this is one of the screens that I've been telling you about, which we call the Noisiness screen. If you take a look at the green lines are all organic posts. And the blue lines are what's paid posts. We've been hearing a lot that Facebook, in order for you to get the reach and get the engagement, you need to spend money. That's not utterly true. If you've seen, look at many brands of those have actually reached an extremely high engagement with zero spending. How? By the messages. So when I talk about data, it's about analyzing what visuals they've used, what copy they've used, and how they were able to actually attract share of time of their fans. So we start monitoring this on a daily basis, and we draw learnings from them. Every month, we release a report about what learnings we've got out of this, from a macro level, as in a market, and from diving deep, looking at automotive, financials, and so on and so forth. I don't want to say which brand, but there's a brand in Saudi, a very big bank. We're actually building that for them right now. So they want to see how they can become relevant to the new generation when it comes to banking. Newsroom is a concept, again, I was talking about real-time marketing. So we monitor the news, we find out what's really working, and we send that to each one of our clients. And we tell them, we think this post is going to do great for you today. Let's release it. So we started this by convincing the clients about to go ahead with it. Right now, I would say about 70% of our clients don't ask for, they don't need to give us approvals. They tell us, you find out what works and go ahead with it, which is actually quite great and a great achievement. Twitter is not that big in Egypt as much as Facebook, but Twitter is extremely big in markets like Saudi, in markets like UAE. So instead of you jumping from one country to the other or one city to the other to find out what's trending, we've built this dashboard which actually gives you a look at throughout the whole market, what's happening with it. And whenever there's any topic that's starting to trend, it starts blinking in red. So it gives us an idea about, okay, this is the direction it's going in. It starts monitoring everything in 24 hours. And we're working now with the Twitter team to start predicting what's going to come next as a trending topic. So this helps us in preparing things. Same thing for Ramadan. I was telling you about it before. But I want to talk about this, something which is super important. We handle Americana group as a whole, Hardee's, TGIF and all. And we partnered with them in the sense of we handle all their social media platforms. And they've been facing a lot of issues, be it from call center, be it from delivery, be it from pricing, be it from product availability. And what we did is we created something called the complaints report, where we started monitoring for them on a day-to-day basis all the complaints that they're getting, market by market, according to the services that they provide, and started working with each center they have, which each store they have, to tell them, guys, for instance, in Saudi, you're facing an issue in Jeddah with regards to your call center. People are either not replying to the phone or they're taking a lot of time to reply. In Kuwait, for instance, you're facing an issue that the product is being delivered extremely fast. So you need to sort out that issue. Their performance has gone up to date by 21.5%. It's actually proved to be extremely helpful for them because top down, the management has given a mandate that each branch should start following this report and follow up on the issues being faced. Excuse me. And listening. So we kept talking about listening, how important it is, but what are people actually talking about you, not on your channels, but everywhere out there. For instance, in Kuwait, we've noticed that the #1 place where people are talking about brands is on the former Foursquare app, which is Swarm. All the conversations on Kuwait about brands is on Swarm, which is super interesting. So this gave us an insight that you want to do a campaign in Kuwait to reach out to people, you go to Swarm. And we've done one last month, and it was really great. It was for Hardee's. And this is how we created this dashboard for the listening, where basically, whether it's on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, or the World Wide Web, what's the level of Arabic mentions versus English mentions? How much is a campaign performing better than another campaign? So we plug, let's say Alex Bank is doing a campaign, and Masr Bank is doing another campaign. We start monitoring both banks, how they're doing. And we start understanding why the other bank performed better than, Bank B performed better than Bank A. Was it based on the proposition? Was it based on the offer? Was it based on the audience? I just came back from Lebanon, where last month was our 6th anniversary. So we decided to take all the staff, 60 people, to Lebanon to celebrate it. But we decided to link it to a CSR initiative. The CSR initiative was we tied up with Malak, which is an organization that helps the refugee Syrian kids in Lebanon. So we gathered books and clothes and toys, and we took it there. When we got there, we have a tool called Ask for Insight. Spending 2 days with those kids, we realized that whatever you read in the reports is actually not the real insights that you need to get your hands on. So we've decided to, and we formed it, and we just signed it yesterday, for Ask for Insight. Every single company in this part of the region wants to do a CSR campaign. But if you look at all the CSR campaigns, they're more or less similar to each other. So we've decided to run this tool called Ask for Insight, where basically we can get the insights directly from the kids, directly from their parents, directly from the communities they serve, and then form it into a report, all of that within a period of 4 to 5 days, and basically sell it to the companies out there. Now Unilever is on board. The second one is Americana Group is on board. So this is the difference between, I wish Rashad was here, but this is the difference between traditional research and doing a research which is in real time, getting really to understand what ticks on those people and doesn't tick. You'll be able to see the report based on that coming out in the next month and a half to 2 months, and hopefully you'll see a campaign coming out of it. In a nutshell, what I want to say is that, guys, data is available to anybody out there. There's actually an abundance of data. The amount of data that's out there is overwhelming. It's about how you really decide which data you want to use and what you want to make out of it. You want to be on Facebook, great, be on Facebook. But decide, why do you want to be on Facebook? What's the end objective behind it? What do you want to do? Because the age of having a great number of fans is gone. I don't care if you have 1,000 fans versus 1 million fans. It's about what level of conversations you're getting out of those people, how are you utilizing those 1,000 people, and what kind of conversations you're having with those people that will affect their followers and their friends. Thanks.